We are in New Orleans, Sugar Bowl. Your boys don't got a split screen.
No.
We're here together. We're talking the final preview before the game happens next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked on Bulldogs podcast. He is Clint. I am Daniel. Thanks so much for being here. It is Wednesday. It is New Year's Day. Happy New Year to you and yours. And we're in New Orleans. Right out there is the Superdome. And later this evening, we will be inside the Superdome. What will we be watching, Clint? That's what we want to talk about today. If you are an everydayer, thanks for being here. I mean, there are a lot of you that are here because it's game day and you want to hear some last minute thoughts and takes on the game. We got a bunch of everydayers because we're here every single day recording this show. And so thank you to you guys. If you're a first listener, we appreciate that as well. So let's jump in, Clint, to the Sugar Bowl. The story in the national media.
Yeah.
We'll start there.
Yeah, let's start.
The story in the national media is Gunnar Stockton. Like, Gunnar Stockton is the story of this game. So first segment, we'll get that out of the way.
Okay.
And then segments 2 and 3, we'll talk about you and I. What are our stories? What are the stories that we are looking at? But we'll get this Gunnar Stockton stuff out of the way. Gunnar Stockton makes his first ever career start. It is in the Sugar Bowl. He's had 21 days to prepare, basically a spring practice with Mike Bobo. We've covered all of this in great detail. You and I both expect a significantly adequate to solid performance. We would be surprised if Gunnar Stockton played poorly in this game. My question to you is, what is the ceiling for Gunnar Stockton in this game? In a reasonable world, what could a Georgia fan hope for from their quarterback?
It's a great question. And by the way, we will be back tonight after the game right here. So
a little 2-for-1 special.
A little 2-for-1. Daniel,
golly, you love to see that.
You love to see it.
Might be Thursday by the time that episode
it will
airs,
certainly be the calendar will have switched over to Thursday. Look, we were talking about this morning, Daniel. High school Georgia players, normally good,
notably good. Best high school football state in the country.
Agreed. Number of names: Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. A lot of good Georgia guys. Cade Klubnik. Gunnar Stockton has better statistical analysis than those dudes combined.
All of them.
All of them. You name a Georgia quarterback, he's better than them. He's better than some Georgia running backs. I think people have slept on this dude for some time because when he came in, I remember this, we remembered because he was asked once more this week about transferring. I remember when he signed. And we had a stacked room to begin with. And he said, I will graduate from the University of Georgia.
He said it early.
The first week. He said,
that's with Stetson Bennett. Carson Beck. Brock Vandelay Industries.
That's the one.
It was a logjam. And he came in and he said, this is where I signed. This is where I'm going to play football. And at that point, you thought, that was the first point that I thought, oh, we're not going to see Brock Vandagriff for much longer. Like, this is about to be, this guy's the next in line after Carson Beck. And sure enough, he was the next in line. Even this year, a lot of rumors swirling around. Jaden Rashada comes over. Well, Jaden Rashada, you and I, before the season, we're like, Jaden Rashada. This is an interesting name. He's an interesting quarterback. Might he be number 2 on the depth chart? No, there was never a question about who was number 2 on the depth chart. It's been Gunnar the whole season. He has been next in line all season. And now next in line just came about 6 months earlier than everybody thought.
So I think ceiling for Gunnar Stockton and ceiling for this game are two separate answers.
Right.
Ceiling for Gunnar Stockton as a quarterback at Georgia, that is sky high.
Second best to ever be a quarterback at Georgia. No
That's-
one will ever surpass Stetson Bennett, but that's the ceiling.
Well, you have to be 2-time national championship and 4-time playoff MVP to do that. So
yeah. Well, he's got his first chance to be a playoff game MVP tonight.
My anticipation is that I'll give you some stat lines. Maybe I think the ceiling for him is maybe 275, a couple of tuds would be like the ceiling of a realistic ceiling for this game for me and Gunnar Stockton, because I think this is going to be a rock fight. I think Notre Dame does have some dudes still on defense. They got rid of or he injured the best defensive lineman they've seen in a hot minute.
I know that's tough.
That's tough. But I think somewhere around,
they still got some guys though. That
They
secondary's loaded.
That secondary is good. The safeties are good.
Mm-hmm.
They can run, they can bang. It's going to be a dogfight all the way through. So I think just south of 300, a couple tuds is the ceiling. I think the more realistic 225, 250 with a tud, one running, one passing is the realistic. Daniel, what's the ceiling that you
I got him about 300 total yards, which I got him maybe 250, if I'm going to like 250 passing, 50 yards rushing, some timely runs. I do think we're going to see him run the ball. I also think we're going to see him take some sacks. I think we're going to see him lose a bunch of yards thinking, oh, I've got this edge, when he, in fact, does not have that edge. So I think there's going to be some game speed stuff that's probably going to catch up with him. You hope that it doesn't result in turnovers, right? A sack is one thing. A missed wide open receiver is another thing. But an interception, a strip sack fumble, like those are the things, obviously, that'll kill you. But I got the ceiling, probably around 300 total. 250 through the air. I do think we're going to see him use his legs, though. So even though I think he's going to take some sacks, I think he'll probably run for about 75 or so yards. But with the sack yardage taken off, I got, somewhere in that 50-yard rushing. And, maybe a rushing touchdown, passing touchdown. You and I both think this is going to be a low-scoring game. And so I think if Gunnar Stockton were able to do that, we would both feel like that gives Georgia a plenty adequate enough chance to win this game.
He's responsible for 14 points on the scoreboard, and then I take the rest of the Georgia team, ETN, Frazier, to get a couple more points on the board.
Yeah,
I'm feeling really good about getting to that 21 points, where I think we'll be comfortable. I think.
Yeah, the kicking game plus the running backs, if they account for 10 to 17 points, and Gunnar accounts for 14 points, I think we're both feeling like if Georgia gets anywhere near 30 points in this game, I think we're feeling like this is. Like George's got a good chance.
We're feeling really good. Hey, we're going to come back after these and let you know some thoughts that the national media refuses to talk about because they don't know anything. Stop listening to national media people. But first, these. Daniel, these are in fact
what are they?
Game time.
Game time.
Game time is the best. They're fantastic.
How did we get tickets for this game, Clint?
We got tickets via Game Time.
Cool. Okay.
They're the best. They're fantastic. Download Game Time app today or go to gametime.co. You get to view from your seat what it looks like, an actual representation of what you'll see, not some fabricated AI nonsense.
Yep.
Put that slider on over. Every single thing that you're going to have, fees, taxes, all in pricing, one price before you go to checkout, so you know what it is. You don't have to play that game of multiple tabs looking at it. And right now, go to Locked On College promo code, $20 off your first purchase of Game Time tickets. You want to get in the Sugar Bowl? There are still tickets to be had. You can go do last minute. Come on down. Let us know you're coming.
Hey, look, if you leave Atlanta now, you could make it.
There are 3 brothers.
You could make it.
You could make it right now. Game Time app is going to get you over there. Locked On College, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
All right, Clint.
Yep.
That's the national media narrative. I'll start with my narrative in this segment. We'll let you get to your narrative in the third segment, but I would love your thoughts on this because as we get closer to this game, I have brought it up before, and I'll continue to bring it up now. The narrative for me will be, can Georgia make Notre Dame throw the ball? Kirby Smart has made a career, a wildly successful career, by the way.
Yep.
Like on pace to be legendarily successful. He has made a career out of making teams one-dimensional. That's how you succeed on the defensive side of the ball. If you notice when Kirby Smart talks about this team, he still references the offense and us. That's how he speaks about the team. And when he says us, he means the defense.
His blood boils for one passion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So don't think for 1 second. This is why when Glenn takes a head coaching job, Georgia will be fine. When Dan Lanning took a head coaching job, Georgia was fine. Because Kirby Smart is still speaking in terms of us, in terms of the defense. The way that you win defensively is you make teams one-dimensional. Notre Dame has told you what they want to do. If someone tells you who they are enough times, Clint, what should you do?
Believe them.
Just believe them. Notre Dame wants to run the ball. They want to run it with their quarterback. They want to run it with their running backs. The three best players on their offense all stand behind the line of scrimmage.
That's it.
And so if you can take that away, if you're Georgia, put it on Riley Leonard's arm. Now, Notre Dame is perfectly capable of throwing the ball, and it's not like Georgia is immune to passing games, beating them.
No.
Georgia's had some struggles in the secondary this season. Certainly, they've had some lapses in coverage. Think about the Mississippi State game. Certainly, we've seen teams be able to go over the top against Georgia. Think about Ryan Williams. So it's not like Georgia's not immune to. It's not like Georgia is immune to that, Clint. But if Georgia can make Riley Leonard one-dimensional, take away the running lanes, make him try to drop back and throw, then all of a sudden Jalen Walker comes in. Then all of a sudden Chaz Chambliss comes in. And then all of a sudden you have the ability to rush the passer, to get him in 3rd and long, Clint. So to me, that's the narrative. And if I were more optimistic that Georgia could do that, I would be way more optimistic about Georgia's chances to win this game, to be honest, than I am right now, which I'm still like 55-45 leaning towards Georgia.
Yeah. More to that point, Dawgs Stats, good friend of the pod. We love him over on Twitter. Did a little analytical research onto Riley Leonard when he plays good teams. Now, this is really important. Again, the national, I want you to understand, because we've seen this play out in the playoffs so far and in bowl games.
Yeah.
When a team tells you who they are, trust that Alabama can't win a big game. Just trust.
They've already won the Super Bowl this year on September 28th. Why would they need to win another big game?
It cost them everything.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard,
takes everything.
It takes everything, and nothing is there after the fact. When he plays stiff competition, he is under 60% completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio of 2-1, QBR below 70, and he has as much passing yards per attempt as he does rushing yards per attempt, 6.2. It's bad when he becomes when the offense has to channel through his throwing ability. The Irish are not happy. Just flat out. It's not a good look. You saw this, Boise State last night. Boise State, when Genty's going great, man, it's hard to stop that cat. When you contain him, offense is bad, and you have to hope for a couple of tight end slip screens out the backside to go ahead and do damage. If our defense can stop Love and Riley and contain them to 3 yards per carry, and 3 yards per carry, you do that enough times, that's a first down. But in Irish offense, they can't keep churning out. We've said this before of Georgia. Yeah. When they get to the red zone, we're able to stop them. Long drives are not the way to success against Georgia.
It's a way to keep it close.
It's a way to keep a game close, which we anticipate they will do. It is not a recipe for winning. It's a recipe for covering, which, fine, I will take. You could take my money, and I will continue going on the playoffs, is what I will happily do for you. So, yeah, Daniel, the Riley Leonard thing, he's just not – he's not a proficient passer, which is wild to think through. And you're dead on.
But again, holding this team to 3 yards a carry, I would say at this point, and Georgia fans don't want to hear this, would be a monumental feat for this Georgia defense. Like the best performance we've seen from them all season would be required. And I watched the second half against Alabama. And that defensive performance that we saw in the second half versus Alabama, it would need to be significantly upped
for 4 quarters
for Georgia to limit this Notre Dame rushing attack. They're telling you what they want to do, and yet they're so good at it, so physical at the point of attack, that it's going to be very difficult to stop them, even though, it's pretty obvious. Everybody in the building is going to know what's coming.
And this is what, again, get your buckets ready because
Sure.
And stop me if for 9 weeks of the season we said this from the rooftops. If you miss tackling,
is that part of defense?
It's a big part of defense.
Okay, interesting.
And you can't get the ball carrier to go down. If you can't, Monty Rice, he put hands on you, you go down. That was Monty Rice. You can't do that. They get to second level in a hurry. And so KJ Bolden, Malachi Starks, Dan Jackson, CJ Allen, Smile Munden. When you
tackle them,
you have to tackle them. When you get to the point of attack, you cannot simply put a big hit, wrap your arms around and wait for buddies to come because they're coming. We just have to tackle well, and we haven't tackled well before, and we've gotten burned by it because this offensive line is going to open holes against our defensive line. Like it will happen. I wish it wasn't the case. I think the edge might be a different story. Chaz and Malachi, or I'm sorry, Michael, are going to do fine. But the interior has been suspect all year. We've chronicled it. We are going to need the linebackers and the safeties to come up and limit their running to the second level. That was Daniel's thing that nobody's talking about on the national media. I'm going to talk about something that the national media refuses to talk about, but first, these. And these are, in fact, FanDuel. Daniel, we're going to head on over, and we got FanDuel on the app as we're walking, as we're talking, as we're thinking of things. We said that line for the Arizona State-Texas game gets to 13.5, 14. You better believe we are putting a hefty wager on over.
A bite out of that.
Right now it's at 13, and you can get all the lines for today's action and tomorrow's action and every action after this from here on out, whether it's NBA, NFL, NHL, college football, over at FanDuel.com. Make every moment more. FanDuel.com is a place that we trust. Official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcasts, everywhere. Get over there right now. And if you make a $5 bet, you win that $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets straight to your account. That's a lot of money with which you can make more bets in bonus bets action. FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook of Locked On Bulldogs, Locked On Podcasts, everywhere. Go over there right now and make every moment more.
All right, Clint, I am concerned about our ability to stop the run. No one listening will be surprised by that. What is the narrative that you will be thinking about rolling over and over again in your head this afternoon as we prepare for the Sugar Bowl?
I'm watching and I am waiting. I don't think Mike Bobo is going to be conservative Bobo. I just don't think that's the case. I don't think Kirby and he have been that way in quite some time. Okay. We've seen Kirby make foolish decisions. We talked about this last week on the pod, but here's what I'll be looking for. And I do think the Irish are disciplined and their coordinators, by the way, Irish coaching staff, sneaky good coaching staff. Like
it's easy to jump on Marcus Freeman because it feels like he lays an egg every single year, right? We've seen Marcus Freeman lose to Marshall.
Yep.
We've seen Marcus Freeman lose this year to Northern Illinois.
Wow.
Like it is easy to pile on to Marcus Freeman. But everything I have seen from Marcus Freeman, from interviews to press conferences, to the way he conducts himself on the sideline, to the way it seems he's running his program, to the coaching staff that he's developed, to your point, Clint, Marcus Freeman is a miniature Kirby Smart, y'all. Like if you don't think that they have the same DNA in them, I don't know what to tell you. Like that is a cat that I would love to be running my program if I didn't already have the best coach in college football.
Marcus Freeman going to win a national championship. Like I'm fully convinced that he has the means, the goods, the discipline, the backing of the university, the marketability.
What kind of a Brinks truck is Ohio State about to back up to Marcus Freeman's house when they fire Ryan Day? After they lose today.
After they lose today,
they fire Ryan Day. What kind of a situation is Marcus Freeman going to find himself in?
I hope he says, let me sit on this for 24 hours. I hope he just takes that offer letter home, and I hope every other coach gets swooped up in the meantime. And then he comes a week later and is like, appreciate it.
Nah, I'll stay where
But I'm fine.
I'll stay where
That'd be fantastic. Look, it is incredible to me, the coaching staff hires and the culture that they have. They play disciplined ball. They play fast and physical ball. I believe in all of that. They don't have the dudes quite yet, the elite dudes. They have some dudes, but not across the board. That Kirby,
have the depth of dude.
That's what separates Kirby Smart from Marcus Freeman right now.
Yeah.
Kirby walks into a home in Georgia, in Louisiana, in Illinois, and guys want to follow and come down to Athens. Marcus Freeman has some of that cachet, but not enough of it yet. The depth of dudes isn't there. I'll be watching Mike Bobo's play calling of setting up Frazier and ETN with runs to then set up what we've seen before, designated play calls for Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky down the seams. We saw this early on in the year. We saw the big explosive plays are not going to be coming from only back shoulder throws. Colby Young ain't suiting up and coming out in the Sugar Bowl. That was our offense of the deep throw back shoulder down the sideline. It's not London Humphreys. We've tried that for some time.
Yeah.
He's not that cat. Like he tried, he's not it. Lawson Lucky, Oscar Delp have developed quite well. Urosic coming out of the back end, doing that little slip screen has been that. And I'm going to watch if the safeties keep on coming down, if they're blitzing like they want to do, if they're trying to do zone blitzes, if they're putting outside linebackers on Oscar Delp going down the seam, look for Gunner to find them early and often.
Yeah.
That's the explosive plays. And if that happens, if you dictate that you can't cover safeties and linebackers on explosive plays in the middle of the field, not on the outside, middle of the field, then you soften it up and the run game really explodes. So it's going to sound weird, what I'm about to say. It's the run to set up the big shot seam to then get back to the run.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds complex, but this is what happens. You lull them to sleep. You do the off tackle. You do the zone read things with Gunner. To Daniel's point, I do think we see Gunner not give it all the time. How many times when Carson Beck to that RPO was no one fooled that he was taking that thing back out of the belly of ETN and running it?
The read dictated keep the ball most of the time.
All the time.
Here's the thing. Not every shotgun mesh concept between a running back and a quarterback is a zone read, y'all. Sometimes it's a handoff. And with Carson Beck, it's just a handoff.
It's a handoff.
Or it's a run pass option where he's not reading the end. He's actually reading the nickel corner to see what coverage is like, to see if he's going to pull it and throw it. With Gunner, it will be a zone read or a zone read pass option where there'll actually be 3 plays on it. And so a lot more versatility in the run game for Georgia in this, which should help.
We're going to be able to pull that, and he's going to pop one for a good chunk of yardage. I fully believe that.
And he's going to take a pop at the end of that.
But
he will not slide.
No. If you are going to be screaming at TV to slide.
He cannot slide.
He is incapable.
Never played baseball. Never interested.
Doesn't care.
Did not play in the Little League World Series like some former Georgia quarterbacks.
That's true.
Hey, did you know Jake Fromm played in the Little League World Series?
That's wild.
Yeah, he did.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
Let's get up the talking points of national media and say the one thing they gave us. Okay. I really, really do think that the ETN runs, the Frazier runs, if we get a couple of those to bust, they're going to start bringing down the safety. And the second that happens, we're going to have a check with me situation on which is some play action, it's some waggle, and then all of a sudden we hit Oscar Delp. We saw it early on. One of my favorite plays, Oscar Delp over the middle. It was a 2-man route. It was max protection, 2-man route, Oscar Delp over the middle. Beautiful catch from Carson, or throw from Carson. Beautiful catch down the seam for like 25, 35 yards, something like that. That's going to hit. And if that hits, all of a sudden Notre Dame's in a real pickle, a real bind, because now you got them on the ropes and you could just do whatever you want. The playbook is open against their defense. They are not as fast as Notre Dame offense backfield. Like the defense is, again, stout and physical, not top end speed like Love.
Sure.
If we can get Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky running an open field against their linebackers, whoo-wee. I love to see it. And that's what we'll be watching for early and often, to see how Mike Bobo is setting that up.
Yeah, I think the thing that concerns me about everything that you said, which I totally agree with, is what we saw in the second half of the SEC championship game from Gunner Stockton was a lot of half field reads, right? Like we saw a lot of like roll out, and now it's just half the, and gee, I wonder why. Because he's a brand new quarterback, never played against live bullets before. You want to try to shrink the field as much as you can and just give this man one thing to look at.
Mitigate opportunities to fail.
If you're going to be calling plays designed for, Lawson Lucky or Oscar Delp down the seam, you're going to be looking at some more full field reads, right? You're going to be looking at, I'm not saying he can't stand back there and read the full field, but you mentioned the Notre Dame pass rush. Notre Dame's going to be bringing pressure. If you've got a brand new quarterback trying to navigate through a full field read while facing pressure, that's the thing that concerns me. I think if Georgia is able to do that, yes, it's going to significantly boost their chances of having a successful offense. To me, it will be dependent on Gunnar Stockton's decision-making acumen as a very young, albeit with a lot of time to prepare, but a very young starter in major college football who, yes, has faced the Texas defense for one half, and the Texas defense is good, probably better than Notre Dame's defense. But the Notre Dame defensive coordinator has had 11 days to come up with a game plan for Gunnar Stockton.
That's right.
Just like Mike Bobo has had 11 days to prepare Gunnar Stockton for Notre Dame. So it works both ways. If he is able to stand in there, navigate around the pressure, move in the pocket instead of bailing to the sideline, because when you bail to the sideline, that Lawson Lucky seam route over here is a no-go. You can't throw it anymore.
Do not throw that.
You can't throw it. So are you able to stand in the pocket, navigate through the pressure, and then still get to your open receivers? When he got in trouble and threw that interception against Texas in the SEC championship game, that was kind of what you saw. Couple guys coming open across the formation, but he got his eyes over here and decided to try to make this, that throw. It gets intercepted. Texas goes down, ties the game. So that would be the concern, because I do agree with you. If Georgia's able to run the ball, set up the pass, and then soften the defense and go right back into the belly of Nate Frazier, because I don't want to say thunder and lightning, Clint, but
you know how that triggers me.
Trevor Etienne and Nate Frazier are a complementary set of running backs.
Yes, they are.
We have got speed and athleticism.
Yes.
And we have got anger and physicality.
A lot of it.
The passing game to the backs, I think, is going to be huge in this. Like, their ability to provide a safety valve for Gunnar,
I was just going to say,
is going to be huge.
One of the most underrated and important pieces of the offense today is named Cash Jones.
Oh,
Cash Jones and Nate Frazier's ability to pass protect has greatly increased this year. He has gotten exceptional he's not exceptional at it. He's gotten exceptionally better at it. However, Cash Jones, oh my, young man, that safety valve right there, dumping it off and letting him get 5 yards, everything.
I think Cash Jones is the fourth best receiving threat on this football team. Like, of all the people that ever catch the ball,
yes,
like Cash Jones he's going to be a weapon I got two tight ends and one wide receiver I'd rather throw the ball to than Cash Jones.
That's who I counted as well.
And then he's next. So he's going to play a role. So I mentioned complementary backs in terms of carrying the football, but all three of these backs offer something that the rest of them, like they offer a unique skill set. Will Mike Bobo be able to utilize that? And will Gunnar Stockton be able to execute on it? These are the narratives heading into the Sugar Bowl. As Clint mentioned, we will be back later tonight. We will be overreacting to this game. And so would love to see you back here for that. If you're in New Orleans, shout out to us. Let us know. And if you're watching the game on TV, go Dogs. And we'll see you guys after.
See ya.